am super excited. We're announcing something quite special. We're going to be collaborating on something very new for MAGFest in 2024, a platform that is enabling women to have their voices heard, enabling men to understand what we can do to make change and develop something very exciting called the Female Leaders Club.
60% of junior positions are taken up by women. Then once you get into C-suite positions, it's only about 37.5%. Crazy.
Being bold really matters. Playing it safe is not going to get you heard, whether it's an advertising campaign, your voice in a meeting. You've got to be bold.
One of the biggest issues is the gender pay gap. Dig deeper, and then there's an ethnicity pay gap as well.
All the faces of women that are leaders look very similar. We need a lot more non-white and women who are openly from the LGBTQ communities.
Middle-aged, grey-haired men. It is boring. Hey guys, and welcome to this week's episode of MAGFest. And it is a special one because I have two amazing females with me that basically, well, run the show at MAGFest. Let's be honest. The boys don't do that much.
Of course we do, yes.
Yeah, they don't do that much. But we're going to be talking about something super close to my heart and definitely something that we need to highlight very much in our industry, which is how we need to equal the balance of female leaders. So MAGFest have launched an initiative, which we started last year. I say we, I didn't really, I just came on
you were
stage.
Very integral.
Amazing. Yeah. Hosting the stage.
Kind of got on stage, but helped out a bit. But these guys are developing a platform that is enabling women to have their voices heard, enabling men to understand what we can do to make change and develop something very exciting called the Female Leaders Club. So I'm not going to say any more. We're going to get straight into the episode and you can hear from the people that really count. So hi guys, and welcome to Marketing in the Madness. I kind of want to say welcome to MAGFest for some reason, because obviously there is definitely a blend with our names.
We're surrounded by madness.
I know. And
Match made
even
in heaven.
Yeah, I was going to say even today, getting here has been madness. So for you guys listening, I somehow turned up to the wrong studio, but now we're here. So yeah, in true mad style,
Yes.
we are recording
Very
this
fitting.
podcast. Yeah, exactly. We're doing it. We're
We'd
on
have
brand.
it no other way.
No, exactly. We're on brand. So sorry guys if I look a bit sweaty, that's why. So today I am super excited because we're announcing something quite special, that we're going to be collaborating on something very new for MAGFest in 2024. So rather than me talk about it, I'm actually going to hand over to Aoife to kind of position, because obviously we worked really closely last year out on the Female Leaders Bar, but that's going to be evolving at MAGFest this year.
Absolutely. So we launched the Female Leaders Bar at MAGFest July just gone, and it was such a success, wasn't it? It was, the energy at the space this year was just amazing. I thought it was super empowering. All the amazing female leaders that were in the space and the future leaders, you could feel the positivity in the space completely. And that just made us think, well, why stop there? Why keep it at MAGFest? We need to continue this community and the content year round because it's amazing and it's so inspiring. So that's what we've done. And it is called the Female Leaders Club. And it will be a year-round content platform, rich digital content, networking, to really just empower and inspire the current and future female leaders.
I love that. And yeah, this podcast hopefully is going to be helping develop some of that content.
Definitely.
And yeah, today is just the start of that. So I'm going to come to you next, Bindi. Why do you think shining a light on, I guess, the imbalance that still exists in the world of marketing, advertising, technology is so important?
Because most of the people who work in the industry are female, yet most of the leaders in the industry are male. So there's a huge imbalance there. And so what we want to do is just to make sure that people's voices get heard. We want to hear the stories of the leaders who are female and have made it a success. But we also want to get tips from them so that future leaders can see their path to becoming a future champion.
Yeah, I think that's the key, isn't it? It's highlighting the imbalance and really starting to think about the things that we can all do to kind of, change the balance slightly. And that's what's super important to me, especially as a mother of a daughter. And she actually, her first experience in the world of work was coming. I mean, the irony and the perfectness that we've created here is, my 15-year-old, her first ever work experience, she came with me last year. She came and sat at MAGFest, listening to all the talks. She was helping make sure that I was well briefed before I was interviewing people. And the main takeaway she had was that she had no idea that there was such an imbalance still. So, she goes to an all-girls school and maybe it's just not as prevalent for her because, she's not in the workplace yet, but also because she's in an all-girls school. So she was there, she was like, I literally had no idea. So, there aren't going to be people entering the workplace over the next few years or currently that have no idea that there is such an imbalance still in the workplace. So I definitely think us, really trying to better that over the next few years so that my daughter at least can enter with a slightly better balance than I did is super important.
For sure. And I think as well, I'm only at the start of my career and I found the same, before entering the workplace, I didn't realise kind of how important it was and how prevalent it still was. Before you kind of start working, of course, you hear about it, but it's only once you then enter the space and you become exposed to it that you then start to realise just how prevalent it really is. So, yeah, definitely.
Any kind of specific things that you saw, Aoife, when you started work or that made you think, wow, yeah, it isn't as fair as I thought it was?
I think for me, it's that female leadership. There was a stat the other day that I read that, 60% of junior positions are taken up by women, but then once you get into C-suite positions, it's only about 37.5%, which is crazy.
It is crazy.
And that needs to change.
Yeah. I mean, I'm almost shocked that it's at that high because certainly in agency land, and that's where I've probably spent a huge part of my career, certainly the most recent years of my career. And there was a campaign. This was actually not just about females. Maybe we should take it on. I could ask him. It was a lovely friend of mine, Dino. I'm going to say his surname wrong. Dino Myers-Lampney? Dino, anyway. Amazing Dino. He was at 7 Stars. I don't even know how we met, but we met. And he had this campaign that was board of the board. So he's a black male in the industry. And, he was highlighting the same things that I was seeing, which is most agency boards, certainly, I think it's getting better, but 5-10 years ago were made up of middle-aged, grey-haired men. And it is boring. So he did this whole campaign around, we're bored of the board. How can we start to change? Ad agency, gone are the days of Mad Men. There's another play on MAGFest.
Love that.
Maybe something we could do here, guys. But, gone are the days of Mad Men. Let's make sure that the boards are more diverse because I guarantee if you look at most of them, I do think the last 5 years there's been a lot of change, but they have, had mostly middle-aged white males, and that definitely, how can you innovate and have ideas? And it's an interesting stat, although I haven't got the exact stat, but we did one of our events at the beginning of this year for Wonderman Thompson, who are now VML, was around the female buying power. So again, at ad agencies, at tech companies, at big, I don't know, digital agencies that are designing online purchasing journeys, they're being designed by men for women.
Yeah,
it makes
ridiculous.
No sense.
No,
we actually, but I think it was the stat was something like women hold 67% of buying power, and that is set to increase in terms of online purchasing, especially in the e-commerce world. Yet most of those journeys are designed by men. What the actual?
That's crazy.
Makes no sense. Makes no sense.
Makes no sense whatsoever.
No, and also not just women. I think there's a huge issue with intersectionality, and when you look at it, all the faces of women that are leaders look very similar.
Yes.
We need a lot more non-white women and women who are openly from the LGBTQ communities. That needs to change as well.
Yeah, totally. There needs to be more diversity across the board in terms of every type of diversity. Like you say, that it is. Otherwise, it's going to change and it's just going to be loads of middle-aged female white women,
Exactly.
which also isn't the answer.
It isn't the answer. Also, the one of the biggest issues is the gender pay gap.
Yes.
But then you dig deeper, and then there's an ethnicity pay gap as well. So people like myself, I'm Asian, black ladies, there's a stat which I don't have to hand. I'm really sorry.
It's fine. We'll find the real stats, guys, and put them in the show notes. But we're going to make them up on the spot.
Well, anyway, ethnic women get paid a lot less than white women, and white women get paid a lot less than men. Where does it stop?
Yeah.
How can we get to a fair society? And this is something that we are looking to highlight in our newsletters. We want people to come and be really open about what's happened to them. But we're also going to have this feature, which is a secret leader, because not everybody is going to want to give us their experiences and put their name behind it. So if somebody's got an experience that they've had and they don't want to out themselves, we'll have a mechanism for them to be able to say their story, and I'm sure a lot of people will be able to relate to it.
I'm so with you on that. I think I was quite brave last year, and on one of the biggest stage panel discussions I was on, I talked about some of the really horrible things that have happened to me in my career, like i.e. men, I don't know, once, like, gone are the days now of projectors, but like I was presenting something and one of the guys was like pointing the projector down my bra, like that. Can you? And because it was like in a room of me, that was actually at a drinks brand, and it's not the drinks brand's fault, but it was the attitude of the men in the room. They thought it was funny. I was a young girl in my 20s, blonde hair, blue eyes.
Very intimidating, isn't it?
Yeah, but then I feel because then my whole presentation was off whack because I felt really intimidated and really silly. And they probably didn't think that, because that's the kind of stuff guys joke about in the pub, and that's what needs to change, because it's that language and that behaviour that crosses over into the workplace and makes women feel like they're not on a fair playing field when you're presenting, or because something like that throws you off guard. There's no way, would you point a projector at a man's nether regions?
Of course
not.
not.
It just wouldn't even cross our minds.
No.
And I think that's the thing. It's because we have different lived experiences.
Yeah.
So they don't, because, we have to think about walking at home in the dark.
Yeah.
They don't. It's that different lived experience. And I think something that's great with what we're doing with the newsletter, which is starting in the next couple of weeks, is that whilst we want it to be a really safe space for women, we also want to ensure that we are completely all-inclusive and are including men in the conversation, because I think that's super important.
Yeah.
We spoke about that after MAGFest this year. The Female Leaders Bar space was incredible, but we needed more men there.
Yeah. Well, they didn't think that they could come, right? I actually had some guys message me and I was like, oh, come meet me at the Female Leaders Bar. And they're like, oh, am I allowed in? And I was like, yeah, you're allowed in. I kind of want more men there than I do females in a way, because actually the behaviours that I don't know what the right word is here, but the behaviours that they deploy is what's actually going to really help us make a change here. It's their attitudes, as well as us fighting and vying for our place in the world and being braver about asking for those promotions. Because I don't think us women, we have our own self-limiting beliefs, is that right? But we don't put ourselves forward. There's so much research into this. We just don't put ourselves forwards like men do.
No.
But also the language, the behaviour of men and the way that they act it does massively need to change. And I think most guys get that. And most of them won't even realise they're saying or doing things that are, maybe not putting us on a level playing field, because it's just been how they've been brought up. It's the world that we all live in, but it does need to change.
It does. And we had this wonderful conversation with this guy called Lee Chambers, who runs Male Allies, and he's going to be doing some stuff for us on the newsletter. And he was talking about exactly that men can sometimes get it wrong because they haven't lived the experience. They think they are doing something right, but it might not translate. And it's really important that we have men talking in the newsletter, but also on stage at MAGFest in 2024. The Female Leaders Club will have some male speakers, because it's really important that we get their point of view across as well. And they are the people who are going to help us make the change. You know, all of us talking in an echo chamber won't make the change. It's getting people involved who can help. We want to highlight employers who've got really good policies around female empowerment and making sure that women have exactly the same opportunities as men. We want people to see women as individuals and see them on their merit, rather than seeing them firstly as women and then seeing what's behind that. Because as we know, that hasn't worked well for us so far.
No, it really hasn't. I mean, Bindi, you've had a lot of experience in the world of marketing and advertising. So obviously you were at D&AD, you worked in the marketing advertising industry pretty much most of your, if not all of your career.
Well, before that I worked in music, and as you can imagine, that has also got some issues around the gender equality issues.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? We don't really, you think some sectors are safer than others, but they're not.
No. I don't think so. And I've had lots of experiences, as you say, and I've sat in meetings and I've been surrounded by men, and maybe my voice doesn't get heard. And maybe somebody else says an idea that I said 10 minutes ago. You know, I've had all those experiences, which is, it's wonderful for Aoife to come in, and she's working in an environment which I hope she feels really safe in.
Definitely.
And hasn't had the chance to, well, not the chance, but hasn't experienced some of the stuff that we may have experienced before. But it's very much out there. And even when men are really trying, they don't always get it right, as I said earlier. And it's really important to have female leaders, because a young person like Aoife, if she had an issue, who does she go to if there isn't a leader, a female leader in the organisation? It becomes really difficult. We at MAGFest are a tiny team, as you know, but we've got this really diverse group of people. You've got an equal gender split, and we've got two founders who, in fact, founded the Female Leaders Bar last year. And they noticed, they were having conversations with lots of people, as they do in their everyday life, and realising that there was an issue here because they've been talking to a lot of women. And thinking, well, actually, do you know what? We have got this amazing platform and we need to do something here. We've got a space, and let's use it for female leaders and create something that's specifically for them. And once that was created and we went out and spoke to people, to women about it, everybody was like, I love this. I absolutely love this.
Yeah.
And what's really important to highlight is that, whilst we have the Female Leaders Bar, which will now be called Female Leaders Club, and we have a stage there, it's what we aren't doing is trying to segregate the females.
Yeah.
It's very much highlighting the community, because we have many females speaking on the main stages. So it's not about that. What we do have are a lot of stages which dig deeper into certain areas, like we have the attention stage. This year we're going to have the creator economy stage. And Female Leaders Club is just another community-based stage where people can dig deeper into the issues that are surrounding that particular subject.
Yeah. It's super interesting. It's so front of mind for me at the moment. Do you know what, actually, for the first time, and it isn't just for women, and they're not actually a client yet, Hopefully there will be. In fact, there probably could be some kind of collaboration. Do you guys remember Ask Angela, like the campaign in the bar? So it's an app called Help Me Angela that gives you pre, during and post support if you're in a vulnerable situation. So for me, and it's for business, we're going to be helping them hopefully with a campaign sort of B2B2C to get them in front of businesses. But, certainly in vulnerable industries, maybe if you work in the events business and you're working late or in a bar, for me, I was like, brilliant. This is exactly what I need. Because even when like you were saying earlier, walking down a dark street, I've got the train home late at night. There's not particularly well lit streets near where my house is. One of them actually doesn't have any street lights for some reason. But I don't always want to, if it's like 11 o'clock at night, I don't really want to ring my brother or I don't have a partner. So who do I phone at 11 o'clock at night to go, I'm just walking home, a bit worried, there's a guy walking behind me, probably fine. But this gives you that. They answer the call within 6 seconds.
Brilliant.
Yeah, that their normal call rate answering is something like 4 to 6 seconds. Like it's that safety in your pocket. It has the kind of tracking abilities that Life 360
what a great initiative.
has. Yeah, exactly. I'll introduce you guys to them because I was like, that kind of stuff is what we need. We shouldn't have to need it, and it isn't just for women, but I just think there's some really, it's just been very front of mind for me, all this kind of, there's the safety element, there's the language, there's the pay gaps, there's so many subjects that I think we can delve into this year, and how we can get guys to stand with us and understand. Because I mean, I've had, I would like to think my ex-husband and my ex-boyfriend are nice people, seeing as I was with them for quite a long time, but they'd be like, well, I don't really understand, there's no problem, I can't see that you've got a problem, you're making it up in your head. I'm like, because you're not a woman and you don't realise that there's a problem.
Lived that.
You haven't lived it,
And that's what's so important, I think. At MAGFest next year, we really want to have that kind of educational element to it, And the first step is making men feel comfortable to partake in the conversation. And in order to do that, they need help to be educated on it. And again, that's why speaking to Lee from Male Allies UK was just brilliant.
Brilliant.
But also we have to be really careful, because what we also don't want to do is make men feel intimidated.
That
they don't want to come because we might be sat there saying, because of you we are not at the level we should be. It's not about blame, it's just about saying, what do you do in your organisation? How do you support women in the organisation where you work? Are there lessons we can learn? Do you have policies? Or do you need them? Yeah,
that'll be really interesting actually to really dig deep into, because I've seen some great policies, and we did start to talk about, a few of the businesses came with some great policies last year, but I'm really excited to hear, because I want to introduce things in my business, and I'm sure lots of other people do too. So what is our call to action for listeners? Of course, continue listening to the podcast, but what do we want them to do? How can they get involved? How can they support us? Tell us.
So I guess at the moment we are very much in the initial stages of everything. And the first thing that we are doing is creating a newsletter, which will be live in the next couple of weeks. And so, we want to make sure that we do everything right and that we are listening to everyone. So a huge thing that we are doing is speaking to all of the organisations that already exist, all of the female networks. We're in conversation with Bloom, Wackle, Join Our Table, the Women in Programmatic Network, who will be in our first newsletter, because, we are not wanting to tread on anyone's toes, and what we are wanting to do is complement those organisations and really
highlight their work.
Yeah, 100%. So absolutely getting involved in the newsletter, that is a great place to start. And then looking into the future, that is MAGFest,
I think in our show notes, there's going to be a link to subscribe to the newsletter.
Yes.
So that is a definite call to action. Please subscribe to the newsletter, because what we don't want to do is send it to everybody who's a subscriber for MAGFest. If you don't want it, we won't send it to you.
Yeah.
But if you want it, we'll be, it's yours.
Yeah, 100%. And we want you to want it, and you should want it. So come and sign up to it, guys.
It's not just a female issue, it's a worldwide issue.
Yeah, it is. And I think it's so important. Now is the time for us to make a real change. And I love what you guys are doing, bringing all those, not that they're echo chambers, but bringing the groups to the stage like this, which goes so much further and broader, means that we can actually really start, to listen as an industry, not just within our own, within our own camps. I think that's really interesting.
No, one of the things that we also want to do is have overseas voices. So occasionally we'll have a feature in the newsletter, which is the voice from overseas, to see if things are different in other countries. Got a wonderful example of Iceland recently, doing the women going on strike in Iceland.
Oh, yes.
Which is so empowering.
Yes.
For them.
So empowering. Yeah. I loved it.
We're not suggesting this happens here, but
I feel like I could go on strike for a while. I need a rest. Probably do it between Christmas and New Year. So that doesn't really count, does it?
Different countries are tackling this issue, this particular subject in different ways. It'd be really interesting to find out what they're doing.
Yeah, totally. I think that's the thing. We've got the stage, the voice, and the ability to bring this all together, and that's what makes it, for me, super exciting. And that ongoing conversation and turning it into a club and a community where we could, where it's not just happening at the festival, but we're actually bringing it to life throughout the year and implementing the things that we've learned. I think is really exciting.
Definitely. And, it really is that kind of extension of MAGFest. We already have such an amazing community, and having that extension, I think, will just be so powerful, because the way MAGFest does things is it's super bold, punchy, fresh, and I think it's brilliant. And so, the conversations that we're talking about with the Female Leaders Club, of course, are super important and serious, but you don't want, long panel discussions. And, if we're wanting to engage more people and bring more people into the conversation who wouldn't otherwise be involved, we need that short, snappy content that is bold and it's easy to digest. So, yeah.
Well, I'm going to be asking everyone who comes on the podcast now some really important questions around how we can empower more female leaders across the industry. So that's going to help provide some of the content, which of course I'll be sharing with you guys in that kind of shorter, snappy, so you don't have to listen to the whole episode. We're going to share it with you guys, and you guys are going to put it on the newsletter. The other thing that I really wanted to ask, so we're in December 2024. Don't, oh my God, I'm a year ahead. Where am I? We're in December 2023, but everyone's thinking about marketing in 2024. What is the focus for MAGFest in 2024, and what are the themes and the things that you guys are going to be highlighting?
So the main theme for MAGFest 2024 is Fortune Favours the Bold.
Love that.
Yep. So I wrote down something that our content director said about this subject, because I don't want to get it wrong, because he's really thought about it. So he's written, being quiet doesn't get you heard. Treading water gets you nowhere. You have to be bold to cut through the noise. You have to be creative and innovative to engage with your customers. No campaign was ever made great because the client plays it safe.
100%. And how fitting is that with the female leadership stuff as well? I think that gives us the platform to say, being bold really matters. Being brave really matters. Like you say, playing it safe is not going to get you heard, regardless whether it's an advertising campaign, whether it's your voice in a meeting, whether it's your ability to go for that promotion. You've got to be bold to do it. You've got to break the mold. And that's where the magic really happens, I think.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
Exciting. Now, one more thing, which is a bit of a plug, but seeing as we don't have an official sponsor on the podcast yet, why the hell not? Do you not hate how so many podcasts now, it took like 5 minutes?
At the beginning, all the ads.
Oh my God. I'm like skip forward.
Yeah.
So at least my listeners don't have to do that. But we do want to do a bit of a promotion for the Mad Masters. Can you tell us about, because I really want to get some of my staff onto this. I feel like maybe I could have a refresher too. But can you tell us about Mad Masters, who runs it, and what people can learn on it?
Oh, the god, the marketing god that is Rory Sutherland is our tutor. He's created this wonderful program. It's all based around behavioural science. And, we live in a world that is fast changing. The pandemic has changed so many things. So much disruption has happened. And Rory really delves into what you can do to make a change to be completely off the wall. Don't go with just tried and tested formulas. Really think about, turn everything on its head and start from the bottom up. And he is everyone who's gone on that course has said, wow, I never thought of it in that way. And we've had so many testimonials of people saying, I was able to just completely change the way we work. I went to the board and suddenly, we had this new way of thinking, because it's all about behavioural science. And it's more than just marketing. It's how do people think? If I put something in front of a consumer, I'm doing it from a marketing point of view. But think about the consumer. How are they going to receive that? And it's just turning everything on its head.
Love that. He's so interesting.
He's so interesting.
And just such a character to meet and watch. Maybe I have to get him on the podcast. Maybe he could bring some snippets.
Oh, you really should.
Yeah, maybe that could be he could teach me live on the podcast some of the things from the course. That could be super interesting, actually.
And the master's course is all CPD accredited.
Yeah. Wow.
And there's an assessment at the end of it. And Rory just does things completely differently to everybody else. He will go through every single assessment that comes in. He will do a video feedback.
Love that.
He will score them. He sends them each a video.
Oh my God, love
Imagine
him.
getting a video from Rory Sutherland talking to you. Katie,
Personal
you did this.
video.
Yeah. Your work was amazing. I love the way you thought about this and I love the way you thought about that.
So good.
It's so special.
Yeah, I mean, I was always really crap at studying. I'm just not, I think I've got ADHD and just never really realised. But that kind of feedback would really, that brings you to life, right? That's what we all want. God, I wish they did that at schools. Guys, thank you so, so much. We've covered so much.
Thank you.
Have really, really enjoyed this. I'm super excited. One, just to be involved with inspiring females like yourselves.
Likewise.
At MAGFest again next year, but also to record the content and to learn from the guests that I'm going to have on the podcast over the coming months running up to MAGFest as well.
So exciting.
So big thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much for having us.